Today on True Patriot Love, I'm lucky enough to be on the East Coast Road Tour, now in Montreal, and I'm with Oliver Surrey Chernaschek. And I hope I said the name right.
You did indeed.
Thank you. I had a little background, right? So I always love to talk about people's background because me being Italian and quite frankly having a Scottish mother and an Italian father, Indian father,
Indian and English father, and Slovak mother.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's what, makes our cultures great because we actually come here and we meet each other and just like my parents did, you create more stronger, creative children, and that's a terrific thing. So Montreal, we're here. We made it finally. We got through Kingston. We went to Ottawa, through all the challenges technically and everything else. We got here, but we're here, and we were looking forward to meeting with you because when Montreal came up in our discussions, and I mentioned to you, True Patriot Love has 9 pillars in it. We handle economy, politics, housing, healthcare, and happiness. So when we came to the summer, we said, we're going to do more shows about stuff that makes people happy, and of course, fashion. And I know as a kid, my fond memories of Montreal were coming to Montreal with my mom. So we would go down. My mom was this fashionista. She really was. God love her soul. We would every season she would go out and she'd buy 3 new outfits, and she'd buy like spring, summer, fall. In that generation, right? And when my mom went back to work, and she wore a tie, which was kind of cool for a woman of that era, right? Worked at A&P. And but she would put us on the train. She liked to travel, and my dad worked 6 days a week. He was a hardworking guy, so he wouldn't come with us. And we would come to Montreal, get off the train, and we would go to tailors, right? And
like bespoke tailors.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, and we would have our clothes made. In those days, we'd even get our shoes. So we'd have our feet fitted, and we'd have shoes. It was a cool experience, and we would eat like crazy. We'd stay in a hotel, eat, get fitted for the day, and then, quite frankly, catch the next train late the next day after we go around the city and shop and have fun and eat in great restaurants. So, coming back was near and dear to my heart because what I remember about that memory. Nice. But so how do you get into this? So I'm thinking about my childhood, and then I'm thinking I met you, and I'm thinking it's a pretty cool environment. So tell me, what brought you here?
Well, I'm born in Kitchener, Ontario, but I grew up in Montreal. Been here pretty much all my life. What brings me to fashion itself, I'm guessing you're asking? I've always been a creative kid. Drew a lot when I was young, and always had, I would say, an interest for how to present myself, but also how to present others. And so eventually that sort of young creativity developed into more of an interest as to how clothing can really come to be a means to express oneself. Yeah. And I'm a COVID baby, so I started sewing. My grandmother taught me how to sew at the start of COVID. Oh. And since then, it's been through my own projects. It's been through some internships, some work contracts. And that's what sort of got me here.
Yeah. Okay, the name of your company, right? OSC is what I first got.
OSC is my namesake clothing label. Yeah. After my initials, and Untold Cowboy is a collective exhibition project.
Oh, okay. Collective exhibition. Give me more.
So Untold Cowboy is a series of multidisciplinary visual productions. Okay. That are dedicated to creating eclectic cowboy characters that challenge the myth of the heroic, glamorized American cowboy. Okay. And creatively reclaim and reimagine the omitted history of Black and Indigenous cowboys in Canada.
Oh, cool. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, one day, another show on that one for sure, because I like to hear, spent a lot of time. I think another show that I did recently was with a farmer. I'm heading out, to PEI, so I have a family of potato farmers.
Right.
Owned a farm earlier in my life.
I've been to PI quite a few times. We used to go camping there when I was young.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, nice.
The red sands.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So what is like this place where we're at today?
So
Tell me about this. Is pretty
currently
cool.
we're sitting in the sort of exhibit room of Atelier Textile, which is a textile printing and dyeing school that has a partnership with my own studio, which is Ligne de Fuite. So Ligne de Fuite is a Montreal-based fashion talent incubator. So they host quite a few young emerging designers in their space. They also do lots of events. They produce runway shows. But both of our spaces, Atelier Textile and Ligne de Fuite, have a partnership, a collaboration agreement, if you will. So we sort of exchange services, use the space, vice versa. So while Ligne de Fuite is really based around fashion, garments, making, sewing, Atelier Textile, on the other hand, is focused on textile art.
Oh,
so dyeing, printing, etc.
Oh, good combination, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's a rare one. It rarely. I think we're one of the very few, definitely in Montreal, perhaps in Canada as well, that have this sort of dynamic going on between garments and textile.
So Kitchener, right, which I know well because, from Ontario, grew up there. So you make it to Montreal.
I make it, yeah. My parents studied architecture in Waterloo, had me, flew to Europe for a couple of years, moved to Montreal.
Oh, okay. All right. And so you grew up in Montreal, went to school here.
Yep.
Right? And then you decided to get into fashion, and then off you go. So help me out here. So you get into fashion, you decide, how do you figure out kind of what part of fashion you want to enter into? Because that seems to me always to be the most complicated thing, right? How do you figure that?
It's a good question because it comes, I can only speak from my own experience, but it comes from a very sort of, or develops in a very organic way, right? There's an interest at the start that grows into a passion, and grows then into a need, and then grows into a means to something, right? Fashion now has become a means for me to keep developing my craft. But in terms of what areas of fashion, there are so many, but since my context is one that's outside of school, right? I'm self-taught, so I didn't go to fashion school. I really had to figure it out on the go. So it started as my first fashion experience, if you will, was as a pattern cutter for a brand in the garment district. Then once that settled, it was really through developing my own projects. And so I'm an emerging designer that has a label and a project going on. So and there it's a saturated market, the one I operate in. But fashion has so many different facets. There's a creative side, there's a designer side, there's a very technical side. There's also it's a business in itself, right? So it's a huge global industry. And I operate as a very small prism of that. Yeah.
No. And I love the story because, quite frankly, so I tell it similar probably age to what you are now. I started basically building homes. And I started kind of from the ground up, from foundations. And basically from there, I learned carpentry. And from there, I learned. So now, just before COVID hit, we were building homes. And it was great, right? Because over time, without any traditional education, I wasn't trained as a project manager, didn't become a red seal carpenter, but I did a little bit of everything as my family was in that business. So
Right.
then I learned it. When you talking about starting out and being a pattern cutter,
Mm-hmm.
I love that, right? Because you're right there, you're learning the trade hands on,
Yeah.
and then you get into it. So, hey, before I forget,
Mhm.
behind you.
Mhm.
So